Welcome to the Awesemo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal Emac coming to you with one Adam Ship, my money share, as we get ready for our final Early Bird regular season MLB podcast of the year. Adam, how are you doing?
Doing good. Excited for baseball season to wrap up. Excited for NFL this weekend. Excited for basketball to get started in a couple of weeks. Pretty fun time of year. Obviously it slows down a little bit between baseball and basketball, but I really enjoy it.
Well, fortunately, we have football to fill the void. Football, of course, is the key. And hey, you can get that on Yahoo Fantasy, proud sponsor of the Early Bird Podcast. We have a free article on the Osmo homepage. It's on the homepage for now, but if you want to see it, you'll probably have to click on football, then articles, and then you'll get there. But that breaks down some key plays for you to get ready for the $400,000 baller, 10% management fee, $10 entries, 150 max, 50,000 to first. I've made a few lineups in there already, Adam. I will make a few more. And of course, we've got baseball. One item of note, looks like the larger slate for Yahoo randomly is going to be at 12:15. So if you are waiting around until 7:05 to register for a contest, you are going to be a little sad. But if you go for the 2:15 slate, they do have late swap, and that'll get you anything else you need. You can just skip that first game. Speaking of skipping games, we're going to skip the early games because you will get Adam and myself at 9:30 a.m. sharp Saturday morning. We will be breaking down each game in painfully excruciating detail. So for tonight, we are just going to go through the 10 games on the more generally accepted late slate. Adam, we already have a question in our first one here. We've got Cincinnati Reds at the Pittsburgh Pirates. I am seeing Trevor Bauer on one site, but I've also read some blurbs, at least for my season-long teams, that he has an illness and is not going to be pitching until Sunday. What are you seeing for our first game there?
I'm seeing the same thing you are on both counts.
All right, so let's talk Bauer for just a moment, and then we can talk the other side for sure there. Sorry, I should have opened all of my screens here. So assuming it is Bauer, here we go. I got a different one. Let's go with Lucas Sims and Kevin Gausman. That's more likely because I've also read, now that I see Gausman's name, I've read blurbs that he's going to be the probable long reliever. Both these guys are priced up. Doesn't seem like it's a good spot for them against Pittsburgh. I'm assuming we can cross them off.
Yeah, tough matchup. Not a lot of strikeouts for the Pirates. Sims obviously not expected to go deep into this game. Gausman is expensive, so yeah, I'm good.
It's hilarious that these guys are priced where they are, considering combined they haven't thrown as many pitches in a game in their last three as Nathan Eovaldi did, and he got the cheap treatment there on DK on Friday. Moving on to James Marville. Some would say he could be a superhero, Adam, but he is averaging 80 pitches per outing. He has made 3 straight starts here. He has only gotten through the 5th once. That's not that great, but he is going against Cincinnati. Any interest in him at 4,900 on DK?
I mean, he's cheap, but it's probably not necessary this time of year. You have so many cheap batters. You do have Verlander on the slate if you wanted to pay up. So, I guess out of the cheap guys, like I'd rather take a chance on Marvel against the Reds than on, say, Sampson against the Yankees or Suarez against the Astros. But that's not really, confident. It has nothing to do with him. It just has more to do with what the other options are.
Yeah, and that's absolutely fair. We'll continue along here because I can already see a couple guys I do have my eye on. Next game, a little bit of a question mark. We've got Mike Foltynewicz. Adequate pitcher, has been sent down to the minors. We know that the Braves don't have patience. They've actually outrighted some of their pitchers this season. But Foltynewicz, 9,700 on DraftKings. That feels like a pretty expensive price point when we consider we do have Coors Field on this slate as well as Texas. On the other side, you have Steven Matz, 7,400. Tough matchup there against the Braves, but an intriguing price point. Just a 4 implied total there for the Braves. We've been seeing a lot of Billy Hamilton, shall we say, in the Braves lineup, and Adam Duvall. Those guys aren't exactly scary. What do you like, if anything, from Foltynewicz and Matz?
Not a whole lot. I think Foltynewicz being priced up in a tough matchup with the Mets isn't really that appealing. Obviously you don't have Jeff McNeil in the lineup for the Mets. So the lineup's a little bit weaker, but I still don't really want to pay out for Foltynewicz. Matz is a reasonable option just because his price affordable. But within that price range, I would rather look to like Ronaldo Lopez against the Tigers for a little bit less.
Yeah, and that's one of the guys that caught my eye. Let's talk about him for a moment. Now, we don't know what's going on. There was a doubleheader on Friday against Detroit and the White Sox in Chicago. They were dealing with some rain. Game 1, as we are recording this, is about it's delayed already. So they may not get game 2 in. So we'll have to keep an eye on who the potential starters are. They'll probably play a doubleheader tomorrow, meaning Saturday in any event. But let's just assume it's the guys we have listed here. Matt Boyd, 11,300. Adam, do they not realize he's given up the second most home runs in the league this season?
I did not, but he does struggle with power, and there is plenty of it going against him.
That makes it a little bit tricky there for Boyd. Lopez on the other side, we've seen some sublime outings, and we have seen garbage outings. This one feels like it could be one of the better ones. His last couple starts, though, have been in the negative. In fact, his last 3 starts combined, he has pitched 14 total innings. He has allowed 31 base runners with just 11 strikeouts and 2 fantasy points combined there on DK. Game prior to that, knocked the crap out of Cleveland. 11 strikeouts, complete game, 1 earned run allowed. How are you liking this one for him against Detroit? This will be the 5th time he has faced them.
Yeah, I really like the salary on Lopez. He's 6,700 on DraftKings. He's not a great pitcher by any means. Struggles with power, 1.74 home runs per 9, 20.5% strikeout percentage overall. But you do have a really, really bad Detroit lineup. I'm willing to take my chances on Lopez.
All right, and that definitely makes a lot of sense. Reminder, if you guys have not yet signed up for Osmo, what are you waiting for? Best deal that we have is the monthly package. Use the promo code EARLYBIRD, all one word, to receive 50% off at checkout. That does include the Fantasy Cruncher add-on if you would like to select that as your particular 1-month subscription. We also have some weekly packages there. All you got to do is go to the Osmo homepage. Once you're on Osmo, you can click on Osmo Plus. It's on the left side, and then you're going to see a screen that has a lot of yellow on it. What that does is, if you scroll down, you're going to see some descriptions and videos from Alex himself talking about our different packages that we have. You can also click the Start Membership button, and if you utilize the Plan Wizard, it will also help you come into some of the packages based upon your particular level of play. If you don't want to see that, you can just X out of it, and you can see all of the plans there. Again, definitely check out the weekly, the monthly. We got a little bit of everything for everyone. All right, Adam, back to our next game here. All right, a little bit of intrigue in this one. This is the last of the 7. We got one more. Second to last of the 7 o'clock games. We have the Chicago Cubs at St. Louis. Playing out the string here. The Cardinals need to keep winning, and they will win the NL Central. If they falter and Milwaukee keeps winning, Milwaukee will pass them. Both teams are going to be in the playoff. The question is, do they get a series or do they get a 1-game wild card? We saw that Joe Madden arrested a bunch of people on Thursday, but came back with a vengeance on Friday outside of Nick Castellanos, who was a late removal from the, at least the projected lineups. They put out something sort of competitive, but we may not be seeing Chris Bryant, who's out. I suspect we won't see him for the remainder of the year. Well, the remainder of the year, which lasts this weekend. We may or may not see Anthony Rizzo, who's been a little bit dinged up, but they have some okay guys. I'm liking Adam Wainwright in essentially a must-win game, and he's been pretty good against righties, adequate against lefties, considering he's 37 now, Adam. The only problem, Cubbies can go very lefty if they want to.
Yeah, he's just a little bit more expensive than I would like given his strikeout numbers. I do expect a pretty weak Chicago lineup. There's no reason to be, bringing Chris Bryant back or pushing Anthony Rizzo. We know Baez isn't going to be in the lineup. Castellanos may or may not. So I do expect a watered down lineup. It's just a matter of how bad it gets and how right-handed heavy it is. If there are more righties than we expect, then it becomes better for Wainwright. I think he's a decent option. It's just, 9,400 on DraftKings is kind of asking a lot. But at the same time, I guess there isn't a really strong mid-range, so I don't totally mind it if you get there some.
Yeah, I think he's going to be in the mix. He is 32 on Yahoo, so that really jumps out.
I think, yeah, 32 on Yahoo really stands out.
If you were looking between him and Ronaldo Lopez, who is also 32, where would you land?
Probably Wainwright.
All right, and then what about the disrespected Matt Boyd, who is 30?
30?
30, 3-0. Oh, so you're going to play Yahoo tomorrow. Don't forget, starts at 2:15.
Matt Boyd over what?
Matt Boyd is 30. He's given up too many home runs. Come on.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he's $5 more than Chichi Gonzalez, Jose Suarez, and Glenn Sparkman. Three other guys that excel at giving up home runs.
I thought it sounded like you said 30, but I assumed you meant 40 or said 40, and I misheard you. And I was still going to say that was too cheap, but yeah, 30 is a little bit crazy.
All right, well there you go. Lock it in, as they say. So there is your Yahoo play of the day. Getting ourselves back onto the guardrails here and talking about Cole Hamels. So Hamels is someone who's a little bit intriguing. As you mentioned, it's not like they're going to really push them at this point. I'm just looking to see what sort of milestones he can get to. Nothing really exciting. On the season, he's made 26 starts. He's 7-7. Yeah, 3.92 ERA, 1.4 WHIP. So it's not like he's really going to be playing for much, meaning something important. But I suspect we'll see him for about 80 pitches would be my guess. That still feels a little expensive against a team that's going to be trying.
Yeah, and a lot of righties here. He does have a 23.5% strikeout percentage against righties compared to 18.5% against lefties this year. But it's not like this is a great strikeout matchup. You do have competent right-handed hitters, in Goldschmidt, Ozuna, Molina, DeYoung. So I'm not really that interested in Hamels.
All right, on to our next game here. We're into the 8 o'clock hour. We've got another probable opener, probable long reliever situation here. It's Edinson Volquez and Adrian Sampson. Volquez is going to go about 1 inning. He got rocked in his last start, didn't even complete that inning, went 27 pitches, gave up 4 earned runs. He has basically said this is going to be his last season. He wanted to play out the string there with Texas. He missed last year with Tommy John surgery. His velocity had been okay. It's been in the low 90s, Adam, but he has just not been missing bats. So don't click on his name. Following him, you have Adrian Sampson, who has not been great. Well, except for his last start when he piggybacked off Edson, and he got all the good stuff. He made 10 fantasy points there. He's going to go about 30, 35 pitches. He is 4,500. That's still not very enticing, so let's kick them to the curb. Now we got Luis Severino, Adam. He's made 2 starts since returning, since starting this season after being dinged up. He had 80 pitches in his last outing against Toronto. He managed 9 strikeouts. He has 10,100. That's a pretty hefty price. It is Texas. It is going to be warm. But how are you feeling about Severino for tournaments?
Yeah, I'm really interested in Severino because kind of what I was saying with Wainwright, where he's a little more expensive than I would like, but there's not a very strong mid-range, so I can understand getting there. Severino's only a little bit more, and there's obviously questions about how deep into the game he goes. I'd be surprised if you got a 7-inning, 105 pitch outing or something like that. But the Yankees need him in the playoffs, and so I don't think it would be surprising to get 85, 90 pitches out of him after he threw 80 in his most recent start, get 5 or 6 innings. But the strikeout stuff's there. Texas has plenty of strikeouts in their lineup. The park's not great, especially this time of year when you consider that the weather in most other stadiums is much more favorable for pitching than it is in Texas. But Severino's a really, really good pitcher on a slate that doesn't have a very strong mid-range. So I do like Severino.
And one thing I want to point out, the playoffs will not start. Well, the wild card playoffs start on, let me see here. Oh, good God. It's like it's impossible for them to put out a decent schedule that you can actually read. So the wild card is going to be National League wild card Tuesday, October 1st. Wednesday will be the American League wild card. That is the 2nd. And then on Thursday, you get 2 National League games. And then on Friday, you get a couple American League games and a couple National League games because they're going to play back-to-back. The reason I wanted to point that out is Severino I don't think he'd be the first starter. I would have thought they'd go to Paxton in game 1. But he's going to have almost a week off. So just remember that. So that could be worth another 8 to 10 pitches. So I like what you were saying, Adam, about him potentially getting up to 90 there. Convoluted way of saying it, but there we go. I'm sorry, I'm on cold meds. Sinus cold. That's why I have the awesome voice at this time. Adam, moving on to our next game. San Diego at Arizona. Roof should be open. We have Robbie Ray, 10,600 going against Garrett Richards, who should not be priced at $8,000, or Nathan Eovaldi should be priced at $8,000. Richard has missed the majority of the season after Tommy John surgery, but he's made 2 consecutive starts. I don't think we see him for more than 50 pitches. That's really not worthwhile. But Robbie Ray going against San Diego is intriguing. How are you feeling about the Blister King?
Yeah, I think Ray is right there with Severino as far as on the slate. He stands out. San Diego's a watered-down lineup at this point in the season. Ray has around a 30% strikeout percentage. He walks too many guys, struggles to get deep into games because he strikes out and walks so many guys. But the salary is affordable. You know, he's on DraftKings, he's $700 less than Boyd. He's $2,200 less than Verlander. With there not being a great mid-range and with there not being very good options at the bottom, I think it's going to be tough to make lineups that you really like in tournaments with Verlander. So saving that $2,200 becomes pretty appealing. And you just, hope that Ray picks up 10 strikeouts in 6 innings.
Yeah, that, or we're going to have some nice pitching and forego the Rockies, Brewers, and Yankees. Some interesting stuff here with Robbie Ray on the season. 102 pitches, 133 strikeouts, 1.3. Oh, those are just away games. Never mind. I did that wrong. That was going to be some phenomenal math. Let's do the math correctly, though. 225 strikeouts across 168 innings. So that is, it's even better. 1.33 strikeouts per inning, which works out to 12 strikeouts per 9. Adam, that is a phenomenal number.
Yeah, it is.
I like it. I know we talked strikeout percentages, and that's the better way to look at in all of it. But from the old school stats, just looking at strikeout per 9, holy cow, that's a big number. Speaking of big numbers, we've got Colorado and Milwaukee. Adam, do you think there's going to be a little bit of a narrative here? We have the Brewers at Coors Field. See what I did there? Beer? The Brewers?
Oh yeah, I was not following.
I'm sad I can't see you. Maybe I'll try that one again tomorrow when we're both on camera. But in any event, yes, that is the cold medicine talking. No, wait, it's not. I've thought of that before I took the cold medicine. But we've got the dueling Gonzalez. You have Gio, who is probably going to be good for about 45, 50 pitches. And then you've got Chichi Gonzalez, who I think they skipped his last start or pushed him back a couple days after Kyle Freeland. But in any event here, I don't really think we can look at either of these guys, Adam. But if you were going to attack one, which would you want to attack more?
I'd rather attack Chichi. You have better bats on the Brewers. You have a worse pitcher in Chichi. Completely unrelated to this game, though, we do have some news on the Tigers and White Sox. Ooh. Be sure to keep an eye on whatever site you're playing on what they do with the game. Both games of the doubleheader on Friday were postponed. They are playing a straight doubleheader on Saturday, beginning at 2:40 Central, so 3:40 Eastern. In the past, sometimes we've seen sites still include the late game. Sometimes we've seen them take it off since it doesn't have a true scheduled start time. But that's what's going on with that.
All right. Thank you. That is a good call out. Perhaps we will have more information on that tomorrow. And hey, I guess Yahoo is ahead of the curve, Adam, by starting at 2:15. So there we are. A little fun joke there for those of us on cold meds. Yeah, let's not talk anymore about the Gonzalez guys. Justin Verlander, you kind of hinted at it, incredibly expensive. How many pitches do you think we'll see? We saw 92 and 87 in his last two. Houston really not playing for much other than clinching home field advantage in the World Series. Basically, at this point, technically, they're duking it out with the Yankees as well, but I don't think that's really going to matter. It's too close to call. With this one here, let's just say we get 90 pitches of Verlander. Is it worth it in this matchup against Anaheim, a much depleted Anaheim squad?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good spot. They still have Simmons, Pujols, and Fletcher that are the lineup's really bad without Trout, Ohtani, and Upton. So Verlander, from that sense, it's obviously a really good spot. But you're paying almost $13,000 for a guy who probably is going to go, 90, 95 pitches, and it's going to be tough to make good lineups around him with the bats that you want. On top of that, he's going to have ownership just because he's Justin Verlander, and that's how it works. So I wouldn't expect that I personally get much.
All right, on the other side, we have Jose Suarez, who had some good strikeout numbers with the AAA Salt Lake Bees. In his last 10 appearances with Anaheim, Adam, how many how many of those outings did he have positive fantasy points?
I don't know.
5, which means he had negative fantasy points in 5. He made it through the 5th inning once, into the 6th inning once, and then either the 3rd or the 4th inning. Not been good. He is 4,500. Houston is doing like a 3-day rotation of guys that they're resting. Who knew that Aledmys Diaz was going to get the day off tonight, but he was one of them. We're going to see 2/3 of their lineup most likely. They could probably win this with the bench players across the board. Any interest at all in Suarez?
No, unless even if Houston runs out their bench is better than half the teams in baseball, probably. The starters on half the teams in baseball. So there's just really no lineup Houston could run out there that would be particularly appealing for Suarez.
Oh, interesting. Due to a schedule change, the Twins versus Royals game is not going to be included on DraftKings. That's a 9-10 game. What?
Yeah, I thought you knew that because you hadn't mentioned it.
Oh no, did they get postponed on?
I don't know what the deal is with that. I just saw the notice.
Oh, Okay, so now here's what happened, Adam. They've moved that game forward. I bet that's why Yahoo ended up going to 2:15, because wait for it, this game's going to start at 2:15. So I wonder if Yahoo was automated and then just said, hey, start the next game at the earliest start time of the main slate, and this is it. So keep an eye on Yahoo. They may punt this game and they may not start at 2:15. DraftKings and FanDuel will pull this one. I think they moved this early due to weather concerns. They did have some weather concerns going on Friday night as well. Just seems a little bit odd that they had done that, but I'm looking over here. I don't see why they moved it, but it's there on ESPN and MLB probable pitchers. So, hey, it's a 9-game slate. Let's talk about our last game at that point now, Adam. We have Oakland. We have Seattle. It was a nice farewell outing for King Felix, Adam. I did watch it. They had the expanded King's Court. It was very sad. He played with them 15 years, multiple All-Star games, a Cy Young, holds literally every major pitching record there is, but never made the playoffs, Adam.
Yeah, disappointing he never made the playoffs. He was one of my favorite pitchers when I was growing up. Always really liked him. Wish that the career lasted a bit longer and he hadn't been a shell of himself for the last couple of years.
Yeah, and when you think about that, he's 33. He was a full-time starter. He came up with the Mariners when he was 19. He was literally a full-time 200-inning starter at 20 and 21, and then for 9 out of 10 years he pitched 200-plus innings. So it was just impressive, heavy workload, but yeah, still 33. He'll probably try to catch on somewhere. I kind of wish he'd just walk away, but whatever. We don't always get what we want. On Friday, we don't really get what we want. We have Brett Anderson going against a bunch of lefties for the Mariners. He is still, Adam, wait for it, say it with me, averaging a strikeout every other inning, whether he wants to or not. And then on the other side, you have Marco Gonzalez, an adequate number 4 starter. However, he is going against Oakland. Oakland has a lot of power. This is the 5th time Oakland will have seen him. I think he's still in play. It's going to be in the mid-50s in Seattle. It's a little cooler there. Don't forget they do have the retractable carport type roof, so it will not help the temperature, but there's not going to be a rain issue. I'm tepid at best on Gonzalez, but at 8,300, we talked mostly about guys in the $10,000 range. I think Gonzalez might come into some of our lineups.
It's just such a tough spot. What's the path to him hitting a ceiling here? I think the only argument that I could make for Gonzalez is that there are so many bad pitchers on this slate, or so many guys that you can't even really consider because of pitch counts or things like that. That maybe he just gets in the lineups by not being total trash. But it's a bad strikeout matchup against Oakland. It's not a good strikeout pitcher in Gonzalez. He's not cheap. Oakland, I think, could clinch the wire on Friday. I'm trying to pull that up now. So basically, I just want to figure out if there's a chance that we get a trash lineup for Oakland. Maybe. So obviously we'll know that ahead of time. So keep an eye on that. Maybe we get their hangover lineup, but outside of that, I think it's a really unappealing spot for Gonzalez.
I believe if Cleveland loses, Oakland clinches the wild card, and then Tampa Bay is still fighting for the other one with Cleveland. I'm not very good at calculating magic numbers in my head. Sorry.
Yeah, me neither. I pulled it up like I was going to be able to do it, and then just said, I don't know, look the lineup.
Well, Oakland's up by 1. Pardon me. They're up 1 on them. 1, 2. So they're 3 ahead. So yeah. So Oakland, if Oakland wins or Cleveland loses tonight, Oakland clinches. There you go. We could get the hangover lineup. All right. I feel like I've had a hangover. It's NyQuil. With that, gamers, do not forget you get Adam and a much more chipper EMAC at 9:30 Saturday morning. I'm now talking about myself in the third person. Adam, let's get on out of here. You can follow Adam at ShipMyMoneyDFS. You can follow me at EMAC DFS. And of course, it is Osmo_COM. With that, gamers, good luck.